to the Fiasco Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Recently, I was reading in the Daily Caller, I think it was in the Daily Caller, read too many different news sources, hard to keep track, but saw a really, I think, kind of disturbing and also telling story about the arrogance of the media when it comes to dealing with potential candidates. Mark Callahan, he's running for U.S. Senate. He was in this video that was at dailycaller.com, and it was him and I think a few other candidates, including one on the phone, that were being interviewed by some liberal rag in Oregon about whether or not they should endorse, who they should endorse, or what position should they take on any of these candidates. You know, and they knew in advance they weren't going to endorse any in that group, I'm pretty sure, based on what I saw. And but it was an interesting exchange, and it kind of summarizes the problems that we have, I think, that are systemic in our culture in general, and particularly when it comes to our media and the agenda that the media is clearly driven by. Mark, welcome to the program. You're a candidate for U.S. Senate. Tell us about why you're running. Election day was actually yesterday, so we'll find out tomorrow how you actually did. Tell us about yourself and your candidacy.
Well, I live here in Oregon, and originally from Eugene, but I live in South Salem, Oregon right now. And I'm an IT guy by trade, so I fix computers for a living. Kind of an analytical thinker, problem solver, troubleshooter type person. And I believe in freedom. Our country is going down the wrong path, and it's not the path that our country was founded upon as a constitutional republic 238 years ago. And I believe in freedom. I have a couple daughters myself, and I'm concerned about their future. I'm concerned about the future of my country, and I'm concerned that we're not going to have freedom if people like myself don't get up off the couch, stop watching TV, and stop complaining, and don't actually get out there and do something about it. I choose to get out there, take action, get out there and do something about it. And that's why I'm running for U.S. Senate here in Oregon.
Were you an entrepreneur owning your own business? Did you work for an IT firm? What is your background?
Mostly consulting work. I mean, I've worked for past firms in the past, both permanent and I did some work for the government for a while, and then I worked for Marriott, for example. I've worked for Ritz-Carlton, for example. I worked for Symantec here in Oregon, for example. But, I've been doing IT work. I graduated from Oregon State University in 2000 with a business administration degree with a focus in management information systems. So I've been doing IT work along the lines of like technical support and network and system administration for the past 14 years.
So set the stage for us of the encounter I saw at the Daily Caller.
Well, basically, it was an interview at Willamette Week here in Oregon. As I said, it's a liberal rag newspaper up in the Portland area, and there's 5 of us in the Republican primary up here in Oregon, and all 5 of us were called to the interview. One person was on the speakerphone. Her name is Jo Ray, and there was me, and then there was Monica Waby, Jason Conger, and Tim Crawley. The 4 of us were in the room, and then, as I said, Jo Ray was on the speakerphone. And they started asking questions, and they started asking questions of just only Jason and Monica, because apparently, I guess the establishment and the mainstream media has judged them to be the front runners. I don't think they're the front runners. But the point is, they only started asking questions of Jason and Monica. Well, I spoke up and said something. I said, what is this, the Jason and Monica show? So they started asking questions of the other candidates in the room, including Jo Ray on the speakerphone. Well, they asked a question of Jo Ray regarding the Obamacare, or what my team called Merkley Care, or the Affordable Care Act, or whatever you want to call it, socialism. And she starts giving her answer. And the reporter across from me, his name was Nigel Jacquis. He's apparently some sort of Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter or something like that. Honestly, he's kind of disrespectful. He is disrespectful in my opinion. So he starts writing blah, 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 blah for about a half a page on his notepad. And because he's sitting directly across from me, I can see his notepad. And so I call him out on it. And what happens in the video happens. And basically at that point for me, it was more instinctual, I think is what it was. I mean, it wasn't about being a candidate at that point. It was about being a human being. It was about defending the honor and integrity of another human being, who in this case happened to be a fellow candidate in the race. And I just had to do it because I was raised I'm an Eagle Scout myself. I was raised to have respect for others, and I was raised about learning about the principles of honor, integrity, and character, and it's just what I'm about.
Right. Yeah, it was an interesting encounter, and of course you ended up getting kicked out of the room.
Yes, I did. Apparently, I insulted their climate change religion when I told them climate change was a myth. And then they asked me this little childish question about the Easter Bunny, and that's just juvenile. Granted, I have my opinion on climate change. As I said, it's a myth. It's just called weather to me, in my opinion. But the point is, for them to start asking little juvenile questions like that it's not professional and certainly not becoming of a apparently Pulitzer Prize winning author that Nigel Jackwitz guy was.
Yeah, everything that Dinesh D'Souza pointed out in illiberal education has become the norm. This idea that there can only be a worldview in every area, politics, culture, religion, science, man, that is just lockstep. That's the kind of stuff that led to the Holocaust, frankly.
Yeah, exactly. The left, or those on the left or far left, or even not so far left, are only they preach tolerance all the time. It's all you hear about in the mainstream media is tolerance this, tolerance that. Well, see, the thing is, they're only tolerant as long as you agree with them, exactly. And that's not tolerance, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was an interesting engagement. Any lessons learned? Did you find it shocking? What did you take away from that?
Well, I found that support has actually been coming in nationwide. Not just in Oregon, but nationwide. I've been getting hundreds of emails on Facebook, and then also on my regular campaign email account. People are really proud of what I did. I'm just a humble guy, so it's really kind of hard for me to I guess receive all these and take them to heart. But I got to stay humble. I'm a humble guy. I believe in God, and God tells me to be humble. And it's really been an outpouring because it's basically, from what people were telling me, they were upset that the others in the room didn't actually get up in solidarity with me. And I did what I did because it just felt like the right thing to do. Yeah.
Absolutely. That kind of mistreatment needs to be dealt with. And frankly, it would have helped to expose that newspaper for what it really is. Although I get the impression there's not a whole lot of debate about that.
No, yeah. We kind of all know up here in Oregon that it is kind of a liberal rag newspaper. It kind of competes with the Daily Fish Wrapper up here, the Oregonian, and
yeah.
Oregon or Portland is kind of a liberal town, but Oregon is not as liberal as a state as some people think it is. It's more of a red state with blue islands, with the blue islands being the major cities. But I'd give them a shot. I gave them my word that I would be there, and I've always been a man of my word. I mean what I say and say what I mean, and so I showed up to the interview. But unfortunately, I couldn't have predicted what they chose to do to myself and that fellow candidate in the race.
Mark, got to wrap it up. Mark Callahan, Callahan, Mark Callahan, running for U.S. Senate in Oregon. That's Callahan for Oregon.com. Thanks so much for being with us.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Have a great day, and I wish you well. When we come back, much more for you. Do want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at USDailyReview.com, and this is The Price of Business.